Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be reviewing the markets, right? Like, what is up with crypto? What is up with Bitcoin? What is up with our altcoins, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, we can overall see that generally speaking, since let's just say roughly the beginning slash middle of May until now, we have been generally ranging, right? We can see that we have gone to, let's say, 101,000 multiple times to all the way to even 110,000, right? Generally speaking, we have been going sideways. Now, here is the deal, people, right? I believe we are ultimately going sideways because we are looking to be building some type of foundation to then continue pressing up higher, right? To then push higher up in the markets to then go into price discovery mode where we will be looking at 120,000, 140,000, and etc. Right? We know, ladies and gentlemen, that global liquidity index was beautiful. It was working perfectly well until it wasn't, right? When we go look at the global liquidity index before, right? We take it from the top, we go 91 days out. It had the last weekly candle, fake out, sell. Okay, we take it from the bottom, we go out 91 days. So we can see it's the last candle, fake out to the bottom, and then, continue to go up. But here's the deal, people. Right, we kind of stopped doing that, right? We kind of stopped doing that. And we can see that, global liquidity has been generally going up more or less. But here's the deal, people. We are technically at the top of the last relevant global liquidity, right? Boom, 91 days. And then next week also should be boom, 91 days a week. Sorry, next week, right? Then we can see there is some type of drop off. But overall, what I see with global liquidity is generally speaking, you know, for me, what I see is practically consolidation, right? Practically consolidation is slowed down a lot and things are going sideways. So we could actually very well, see something very, very similar to what we saw back here, where we kind of just went sideways for roughly 6 to 7 months before we finally exploded. Okay. Boom, we can see like this. Boom. And eventually we went on top of it. And eventually we rose up. Right. We can see that. Now, for me, would I want that necessarily? I mean, yeah, I don't mind waiting. Personally, I'd also don't mind if things just kind of hurry up and, this altcoin season just happens. But at the same time, I don't mind dollar cost averaging my positions to continue to get, nice entries for a lot of the coins I hold. And of course, buy other nice coins. We can see when we go and look at this range right now we're in, right? Technically, right? Technically, we kind of are on top of this right here, right? Boom, we take it like this. We technically kind of are on top of it, especially if we go do something like this. But I need to see more confirmation of how we're going to start closing around 100 and $108,000 practically, right? Are we going to start creating double bottoms over here and then try to push up higher, or are we going to have a close below 108,000, creating a lower low? Okay. Because here's the deal, people. Here's the concerning thing is that when we go look at it, right, we talked about how, for a while now, that even though every time we're going up, we are still consistently creating lower and lower highs, right? We have this high over here. Boom. We have this high over here. Boom. And guess what? These two highs over here on the daily are lower and lower, right? We still haven't printed a higher high from one of the key zones, from one of the key areas. Okay. So yeah, we need to start overtaking some of these, highs. Otherwise, we are just going to sell off and continue to range until we do. That is just the reality, right? If we're looking for bigger pullbacks, let's say on like this type of range, then I would be looking for around 101,000 to 102,000 would be the main area I would be looking for before we reattempt to go up higher. Okay. Here's the deal, people. Sometimes the markets just show that they simply are running out of gas and that they need to have a bigger pullback to then sling and shoot up higher. Okay. When we go and look at something like the Bitcoin dominance and some other stuff, ladies and gentlemen, we can see that boom, go over here, that we kind of just started to sell off slowly with Bitcoin dominance. Overall, generally speaking, if we go to something like the monthly, right, it would not surprise me to have a pullback into this monthly order block, roughly at 64.5%, which also aligns with a very, very nice support, right? Also, very nice support. We go to something like the weekly, we can see, right, boom, this area over here, boom, right, multiple support zones. And of course, on the daily, right, we can see. Look, ladies and gentlemen, overall, we know that this is the key to success when it comes to altcoins. We will not see very nice large pumps for altcoins until this starts selling off. And that is the reality. We expect at least to get to 70% more or less, right? We could even go up to 74%. But the thing is, it doesn't really matter too much. Yes, that extra couple percent will help us once we start dumping, but we're not looking to, you know, predict the exact percentage. What we're mainly looking for is continuation pumps to eventually where we see some type of heavy, sharp sell off, sideways movement, right? Boom, boom, boom. And then a really big, massive dump, right? Kind of something very similar to what we got here. We're just kind of going up. Eventually, we sold off, a couple of weeks of selling. We sold off roughly, 10 to 12%. We went sideways for a couple of weeks, and then for the next 4 to 6 weeks, we really sold off very aggressively, right? That is the main thing we're looking for. And based off the structure, right, based off how things are aligning, we will have a very, very nice altcoin season, right? Because this is so extremely narrow. And let me tell you, anything that goes super narrow in the markets usually, right, usually sees some kind of massive and drastic dump. So for me, right? That is what the market makers are doing. They're just preparing the markets for a absolutely crazy altcoin season. Okay. When we go and look at something like this, right? We talked about how we're most likely going to go to around 6.5%, most likely. And we can see that we have zero confirmation of us holding up and that we are continuously going to go lower and lower. We can see, right? Boom. Yes, we have the floors over here, but boom, we have a double top, lower highs, lower highs. And I'm looking for this to start breaking out and selling off a little bit. And yeah, I do believe roughly around 6.5 to 6.3% is when we will start seeing those reversals to, start to creep in for altcoins. But yeah, ultimately, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to join the free Discord. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.